Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is December 6th, 2023. Stonks, Sunny, what's going on, fellas?
What's up?
What's
How's it
up?
going?
Sunny, how are you?
Good morning, my man. I'm good, good, good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. So we made some green candles overnight. Data is in line with, I would say, with what the Fed is kind of wanting. Um, right? So don't fight the Fed, maybe, maybe not. Um, I think
Pretty
the
muted move, though.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's muted based on what's still ahead with
Yeah.
Friday and next week. So I don't know that we can get over our skis one way or the other. Volume this morning has been, not horrible, not horrible.
No. Well,
Um, it's like I think a lot of this move, and we can look at a couple of things. We've been suppressed by a dollar that continues to waddle higher for reasons that are beyond any normal human being's comprehension in any capacity. That's what's been keeping us bottled up, is the dollar. Dollar is just, it's a, whatever it was. Maybe we put in quotation marks saying it's technical, but for the dollar to make this move up off of that little bottom the way that it did, you could see the technical setup with the dollar, be like, oh, it should go up. But fundamentally, from the standpoint of the narrative and the all the inputs to what make the dollar, no fucking reason in any capacity. And I think that how many times have I said that over the past week or so, guys?
4,000.
4,000 at least. Um, it's just it's nonsensical in every way for the dollar to be the goalkeeper, if you will, to the market pushing higher. But that's fine. We are where we are. Um, in theory, the dollar should continue to bleed. In theory, on Wednesday, when they had announced again no rate increase, which odds are that's what they're going to say, data would not fall in line with them raising rates in any capacity. That would just be absolutely ridiculous. We can expect the dollar to sell off more and more next week. Now, what path the dollar takes in order to get there, I don't know. It's like, but I do believe they have us in this holding pattern, and that holding pattern is going to be in play for the most part until next week. We've been through quite a bit together. The one thing that we're always somewhat aware of is the idea of a pit bull low coming in on a late Wednesday, Thursday, or overnight. And then you kind of rally into that following week. That's on the table for sure. But we're sitting here, right now, with a nice pop. ES looks like it's building out a nice little bull flag here on the 5 minute. It can still push to come down into that 88 level, 87, 88, which would make sense if it wanted to push down into that. If we wanted to be cataclysmic, do we want to be cataclysmic?
It sounds fun.
Sounds fun. Cataclysmic. We can look at those relative equal lows that we've been talking about the past couple of days that are still down there at 55, 50, 55, which, that's a good 40, 50 point pull from where we're sitting here. Could it happen? Absolutely. Absolutely, it could happen. But it wouldn't be because of the data. It wouldn't be necessarily because of the chart setup. It would be just because. It would be because the dollar gets out of control and starts firing to the upside, and it's just like, oh, okay, so here we go. That's kind of how I'm looking at the day and morning coming into it. Apple, that news on Apple, the upgrade, I think, from Bank of America, and then the Foxconn headline as far as, oh, maybe we weren't optimistic enough as far as smartphone sales. I think that this could be actually be a good quarter on the other side for Apple because it's like when you start looking at utilities, which a phone actually is, you may not be able to go to Disneyland. You may not be able to do, big European vacation. You may not be able to do a lot, but you can absolutely finance a new iPhone. That
Yep.
you can. You can 100% do that.
That you can. Yep.
So it's like in keeping those things in mind, the doom and gloom coming in and around. It's like there were some lines, guys, that I was very curious about, and I think it was Home Depot after this, how it sold what down to like what 285, 290, somewhere in there, and then now we're ripping back up to the same. There's some bullish lines out to March on Home Depot, and that doesn't happen if the consumer is as beat and whooped and the economy is going to fall apart as one would say. People still have jobs.
But could it be because if they are saying it's going to be milder winter, that kind of extends the construction and things people want to do to their houses and stuff? Mostly, they stop during the winter because of the cold weather and things like that. So it's a seasonal thing.
Seasonally, I would imagine that during the winter they get beat up a little bit more than not. Seasonally, because there's less to
Right,
do.
and that's what I'm saying. So, like this being a milder winter, as everybody's predicting, it's going
Got
to
it.
be warmer and blah blah blah. So that whole time people have to do things is extended now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
is that
I
what's
can see
making
that.
for this bullish move? Because more people are going to be buying more things
So
for a
I
longer
could
time.
I could see it if that Home Depot flow was coming in when it was at that 290, not when it's repushing 330. Does that make sense? At
Yeah.
least,
So basically they're higher and they're pushing higher.
right.
Yeah.
Which again just leads to the overall narrative that, as long as the government's sitting here saying soft landing and all the data is pointing towards soft landing and everything is saying the only one who's not saying soft landing are the ones that either did not get in at some of these lows that have been given over the last couple of years or year and a half, or the ones that are just internally bearish and want to see the world burn. I can't find another bearish narrative in through here, as long as people have jobs, because they will continue to find a way to finance and overextend themselves until they don't have jobs.
That is true.
All right, so that's kind of the walkthrough. I'll go through a couple of levels and things that I'm watching for. But before we do that, Sonny, you wanna give us some news?
Yeah, just a few items. So Apple, you talked about the upgrade. So they're also looking at the Foxconn moving the batteries production to India out of China. They may do that starting next year. Musk came out with they're planning a smaller car, cheaper Model 2. And he says the production will be revolutionary. And this will be produced in Texas. So they're going to plan to flood the market next year with the cheaper Tesla Model 2s. Palantir, that one has been on a rip. So a couple of negative headlines regarding the data ownership as to like when they enter a contract and companies enter their data into Palantir uses who actually owns the data. I'm suspecting there's some verbiage in it that Palantir adds that gives them the right to use the data as they please for private companies at least, and not the government contracts. I haven't looked into the full details on that, but so they're expecting another like 10% downside if this becomes a bigger issue for Palantir. Avis Budget Group, they initiated a buyback of $250 million worth of their stock, and they declared a special dividend of $10 per share. Yeah. MasterCard, they jumped up after hours yesterday and also in the pre-market. So they've increased their buyback and also the dividend. And this kind of like comes opposite of what we were hearing about American Express and Visa when they were presenting yesterday. So that was a nice dip to buy in MasterCard, and I think that all of them kind of just bounced back pretty much whatever they gave up.
Mm-hmm.
Nvidia, so the CEO is in Singapore. Surprisingly, that's where they had the 15% of their sales in the last ER, which they've never had much to do in Singapore. So he's saying that we're ensuring that its next chip will be allowed to be exported to China. And so these are his words. Our plan now is to continue to work with the government to come up with a new product. So instead of just trying to go around selling it to some other foreign country that can ship to China, they want to work with the government now.
It does seem
And
like the path of least resistance, but
yeah,
hey,
I mean, after taking a beating a couple of times, you kind of like, okay, fine, we'll comply.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
What other choice do you have?
yeah, and I think they were. I honestly think they were trying to be sneaky, shipping off and buying their own companies and selling their own product to the company to move stuff around. And I think they are actually scared of getting caught now. The other one was the hydrogen industries. There was a bit of news yesterday, and we saw a lot of puts into clean energy stocks. So they're claiming that somebody leaked the draft of the Treasury Department rules for the hydrogen tax credits. Um, so under the new versus the way they're doing so, Plug Power fuel cell, they took a nice dip on that yesterday. And yeah, that's about it. I'm going to look more into that jobs number and just SPX. That's it.
Yeah. So thank you for that. A couple of things that I'm looking at, and I think Stonk will probably get into it a little bit more. We're moving towards a gap fill here on, I'm going to use the Qs and I'm going to use SQQQ. So 390.50 would be a gap fill going back, I think, to Monday. Monday's, maybe it was Monday, maybe not. But there is a gap sitting here on the 1 hour chart. 390.50 would be the bottom of that gap. And then you can see it again if you wanted to look at SQQQ, that gap would fill at 1580. So we're within range of both of those after getting phantom prints on Q this morning to the upside that we have done the penetrations on as far as those upside dark pools that were offered this morning. We also had a dark pool on SPY yesterday to the upside. We've taken that one also as far as the phantom is concerned. So those are a couple of key little levels that I'm looking at. Just in looking at the chart, if it wanted to form out its complete deal, that it probably will fill that gap and then have some type of a retracement. And then we'll go from there. Other things that we have ahead of us, we have Bank of Canada with its interest rate decision coming out here in a few minutes at the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. And I think we have additional data for us at the same time, which may or may not move it. I think a lot of eyes right now are trying to figure out, with unit labor costs coming down, which it appears that they are, with the jobs report on Friday, how does this all play out? How does this all work within the narrative and in the pricing of how things should be moving into 2024? Because I think we're absolutely within that conversation as far as all that. So, Stonks, what you got for us, pal?
Well, let's get into it. We've got some charts to look at. Let's see here. Trying to share.
I'm waiting for them to let me share you.
Yeah. Thing with that. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Does that do it?
Yep, we're good. All
I
right.
even double clicked on it.
For good measure. Well done. All right. Let's see. So you mentioned 390.50. So here we had the last potential smash burger on the Qs was an upside based on this candle here. Again, smash day is a failed breakout. So when we close below the prior day's low, we'd be looking to go long on that high. And this alert is not hit yet. Here's the gap. It looks like you're referencing here, which would essentially hit this alert. Looking at the chart now, yesterday we closed above the prior day's high, so this would actually be giving us a smash day if we broke this low here, which is going to be, that'd be a heck of a move down at this point. 6 points, not impossible, but on the technical side, that would be the level, that would be the current smash day in play. I'll leave this alert here because we had I think it was a day last week where we filled the gap on SPY, and that was where bulls were like, all right, we're done. Let's shred this back down. So I'll leave that so we know when that gap fills on the Qs, and we'll see if we get some kind of reversal. Someone's typing like crazy over there. SPY, we've got, we had one smash day short, which was off this candle, closed above the prior day's high. Again, failed breakout, so we'd be looking to short the low. We got that alert, and that's all it gave, really. So technically, if Larry Williams was still sitting around in a short red, he'd be waiting to stop out here, which we're getting pretty close, 459.65. So that's kind of where we're at on SPY and Qs in terms of smash burgers. Let's jump into some of these charts. Maybe we'll start over here on the ES. All right. So we were looking at this. I haven't changed this at all. This is the same box we were looking at yesterday. And now we did get a candle closing above it, which would have me thinking, we could use this potential, this purple box potentially could be support with room coming back to 45.79.25. So that would be what almost a 20, a little less than 20 handle pullback. But based on this candle here, we just closed it above. We could see this area potentially working as support. If we look for a ton of stops, looks like they just got these guys. This little mini double top right there. Let's see, did they take that? Yeah, so those guys are out. If a bear was sitting over here with a break-even stop, they're done based on that little candle. So we'll see if that was the objective here. Yeah, if we're pulling back, I'll be looking to see what happens down here, 45.79.25. Zooming out to the daily here, this was kind of our rising megaphone chop zone, and we can see stops building out. We had this kind of like double bottom area, and then we're going to have a lot of stops sitting down here, and then above we've still got this gap, yellow box, basically everything in between here, which also includes this volume imbalance, which would be this candle's body low to this candle's body high. So kind of what we're looking at here. Momentum does appear to be just to the upside.
Yeah, and again, if you're looking at the ES here, that same gap exists from December 3rd on the ES up to 46. Let's just call it 46.03 for government work. So we're 5 handles off of that as far as filling that gap out, and then having to make a decision there.
Yep, important stuff. So that would get us up to there, 45.98. Okay.
And that also, just coincidentally, that would be R3 for the Fibonacci thingy-majiggets that show up on the chart. For whatever reason, it coincides to the penny with R3.
Good eye.
With the pivot, the pivot being all the way back down to that 45.71 as far as the intraday pivot. So it's like today could offer quite a bit of range based on how this is looking and how we've already done these penetrations and have that gap sitting up there kind of like a magnet.
Yep. So yeah, let's jump into the NASDAQ here. Still working off the December contract over there. All right. So a couple things going on here. We had this gap on watch last week, which gave us, gave us a high a day there. Yesterday pre-market, we looked at this purple box, which almost gave us high a day. We were close. I was looking at this area, 15.945. They ran it up just a little bit higher. So here, what I'm looking at, we know there's stops sitting here. We've got potentially a weird looking left shoulder, head, right shoulder. So this could be a target up there. And again, this purple box was our last kind of sensitive area. And now we've got stuff closing above it. Would have me thinking, that if we had to pull back into this again, this could potentially work as support. And then, I'd be interested to see if they pull it back to here. This is a key level. Resistance, see if this becomes support, which would be this basically 16 100,000. So we'll see if we pull back to there, but this looks like a pretty clear target. And then we've got another double top up there if we're working off this inverse head and shoulders. And I mean, if we're just going based on flow, yesterday we saw them hitting mega cap at the open and cooled off a little bit throughout the day. But, mega cap open was, Apple, Tesla, just hammering, NVIDIA as well. So we'll see what we get.
If we look at the MOC last night, it looked like they were trying to buy semis with AMAT and LRCX, and I think NVIDIA was on the list too, wasn't it, for buy?
Yeah, there was a headline on AMAT yesterday. I think they took a hit, right?
Not sure.
All right, that'd be worth some digging or something. They got a mention on Fast Money and negative news.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't everybody get a negative mention on Fast Money?
That's true. You all suck.
All right. Was Dan on to tell us we all going to die again?
As usual. All right. Let's see here on the Russell. We've kind of been just consolidating. We talked a little bit about, we got a week of consolidation, pop. So now do we need to do a new week of consolidation here? We've got this purple box appears to be sensitive area, which was this fair value gap. This candle's high to that candle's low, and candle bodies, every dip into this area, we still close above the purple box. So I'm keeping that on watch. Maybe now we're going to start, finding support pullbacks to potentially this level here, the top of the box. So we'll see what we get if we have to come back into it. Potentially working on a bull pennant up here, which would be kind of like this sort of thing. Maybe overshot it a little bit up there. So we'll see, what they're going to do with it up here. Just compressing. If we had to pull back, you can see there's a ton of stops sitting down here, which is the top of this weekly gap, orange box. And then I've got this daily fair value gap here in yellow, which is going to be basically just these candles low to this one's high. So that's all potential, downside targets, although this just looks like we're compressing in like a big bull flag over there on the Rusty. So we'll see what we get. Not too much else. I mean, we know there's a ton of stops sitting up here. This is, there's not as much because they just stopped out those guys last run around. So it's either, there's a bunch of liquidity sitting down here or potentially up there, and we're in a bull pennant. So we'll see what we get over on the Rusty. For individual tickers, inside bar theme, I was going to keep an eye on AMD was a daily inside bar. Let's see. All right. So this was the key level I was waiting for. They already popped it. We talked about this dark pool yesterday, 117.80. So basically what I would be looking to do in this situation would be find a new call trigger, which would probably be something like around here. This looks like an important level based on the hourly, a lot of candle bodies up against it. So this will become our new call trigger. We'll do just a nice round number. And then if we pull back, see if we can hold there. 119.70 on AMD.
They're unveiling their new AI chip.
Okay. So we'll see if we get a news kind of day, sell the news, buy the whatever, let's see what they do with it. So that's what I'll be looking for on AMD. Not really, they were just hammering away at NVIDIA calls, and I don't know that you could say the same about AMD yesterday. So we'll see what we get. The other one was going to be a daily inside bar on Snow, and Snow's got this nice looking flag going here. Blue boxes, all these boxes are daily gaps. It's been very gappy on earnings, so technically this one, probably get rid of that. It's filled. So we've got 187.60 is what I'll be looking for to take Snow long, and then I'll be watching if we pull back. We've got this dark bull down here, but that's a nice looking flag going. And some of these like little software tickers, we're stuck over here watching Apple every day, and some of these guys are like making a nice little move. So we'll see what they do with snow.
To be fair, the only reason why we stare at Apple, it's the largest component of the markets.
Very true. And we're all
If Apple moving 5 cents didn't move the NQ $3, it's like
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't be watched to the degree that it is. But that's what happens when you have a $3 trillion market cap.
Yep. And I mean, we did look at Apple pre-market yesterday. It had this kind of bullish setup. The flow was there, and looking. So we saw those just all kinds of calls for this week. I'm still looking for this as a target above 195.83 dark pool, and it looks like we're in another bullish pattern here on Apple as we come into the day. So yes, good. We're trading NASDAQ futures in here. We're trading the ES. It's a big component. So yes, we do keep Apple on watch, but I think that's about it. That's all I got for
About
today.
it. All right. So a couple of things I want to close out with. We talked about the gaps, SPY Q, ES, NQ. They're still above. We were unable to pop them on this little rally. What I would be paying attention to is the price action. If we do start getting near that 1580 on SQQQ, we start getting near that 390 on the Qs. It's like, what does flow look like? Are they coming off of some of these Apple 195 calls, or are they doubling into 197.50s for the explosion to the upside? And speaking Apple specifically, are they gunning Tesla 250 and 260s for this and next week? Or are we going to go back and dip back into those 230 levels on Tesla? NVIDIA, what is that flow going to look like? Microsoft, same. What is that going to look like, as the day progresses? Today is Wednesday, which is they do the little theta thing, little theta killing thing. Entirely possible, but this is actually what we're seeing now is the first real move that we've seen, in several days, coming back up into that gap zone. The other thing, and I talked about the dollar. If we get, let's say, a 60 to 70 cent pull on the dollar, like if the dollar just starts trading down, however it starts trading down, we get a pull about 60, 70 cents down, I would have my head on a swivel at that point, because it would still want to maintain some type of integrity on a 4 or 5 hour, as far as this little inverse head and shoulders that it could potentially be putting in. So that's kind of where my eyes are at today, and trying to play off of these levels that have been put out there this morning by everybody. That's all I got. You guys have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good.
So specifically, if you're watching the dollar futures, we would be looking at 103.20-ish. That's dollar futures, not the DXY. So if you're looking at that, just clock 60, 70 cents down from here, could be mark for a potential bounce on the dollar. All right. Let's see what Canada has to say at the top of the hour. Let's see what other data we have. Damn, I forgot. We have basically the titans of industry when it comes to baking on the Capitol today, testifying, and they're going to do their little bellyache dance as far as how they can't make as much money as if they have to be careful in what they do. That is today. So they will be testifying and saying words. I think the flow in and around banks, we did see a lot of puts coming in on the bid when it came to Citi, and some of the other puts like heavier. We saw some call activity to the upside on some of these names. Let's see how that flow develops, whether or not they're buyers or sellers of this conversation. That's all I got. Anyone?
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Sonny. Thank you, Stocks. Market opens in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. We'll see you soon.